evening, White Sox fans. It is Wednesday, June 18th. My name is Danny Miller. The gentleman joining me once again this evening is my esteemed partner, Mr. Jacob Thome, and this is the latest edition of Future Sox Hot Takes and Heaters. How you doing tonight, Jacob?
It was going well until I got on here. I am quickly falling apart, but that's all right. I was messing with my camera setup. Then noticed that none of my lights were on, and it was kind of dark in here. So then I went to go turn those on. Ran into my table, my like little movable desk that makes this whole thing go around. Bumped my water. So now there's water all next over to my setup. But listen, we're here. We're having a good time. We're not watching White Sox baseball because Mother Nature has not been fun to both of us today. You a little more than me, but glad to be here.
And there was a short, very brief period where lights were flickering on and off in my homestead here this afternoon. I swear there were times I thought bombs were going off with some of these thunderstorms, man. I still think something exploded around here, man. I didn't. There was one that just this afternoon came. There was no crackle. There was no like anything whatsoever. It was just a boom and an echo. And I was like, wow, did something just blow up or was that lightning? I really couldn't tell. But the way it echoed, I was like, that had to be lightning because it just echoed for like, I feel like it was like a good 20 seconds. So, anywho, man, like you said, we are here. We are both currently with power and live. So
Yeah,
let's get into some White Sox topics. Um, we have a few things on the docket this evening, but the most outstanding White Sox news of the last week since we were last on is the Andrew Vaughn and Aaron Savali trade. So, I think, well, let's just dive right into that because I'm sure that's what the peoples, the fans, the folks, the White Sox truists, and everyone in between are ready to talk about. So, I want to get your thoughts on this, and I have some thoughts of my own, but I'm going to kick it over to you, and let's talk a little bit about this trade.
yeah. I mean, getting a living, breathing human being back for Andrew Vaughn is quite impressive, and you get a guy in Aaron Sabale who you kind of needed at this point because you were running this weird 4-man rotation. Obviously, with Cannon's injury, it kind of forced gets his hand. And it wasn't obviously they went out and they got Adrian Hauser just a couple of weeks ago to kind of fill up that fifth rotation spot, and then Cannon goes down, so now you're shorting man again. Um, and so you bring in Aaron Savali, who's just kind of known as this back end inning eater type of guy. He has an okay first appearance. The beginning of it wasn't pretty. Walk 3 innings or walk 3 guys there in that first inning, but there's not a lot of wowza with Aaron Savali, but it was good for them to finally get rid of Andrew Vaughn and move on from the disappointment that was Andrew Vaughn. It's going to be a talked about thing for a while, obviously, with that draft. A lot of big names coming out of that draft. Unfortunately, the two biggest going directly in front of the Sox, including Bobby Wood Jr. and Adley Rutschman. But it's an unfortunate break for Andrew Vaughn, who hit a grand slam yesterday, but that's in AAA. It'll be interesting to see what the Brewers do. There was some interesting conversation. Obviously, they have Rhys Hoskins. They're kind of one of those teams in the middle of the pack in the NL Central right now. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens there if he gets any playing time. But Andrew Vaughn had nothing left to contribute with the White Sox. And so to get a guy that Chris Getz feels confident enough that you can flip again here in just a couple of weeks for another living human body, but actually someone young and something that you can move towards the future is something pretty impressive. So all in all, I think is a good trade. Um, it's a much needed trade for now and potentially the future, depending on if he's dealt here shortly.
Yeah. You know, I think your sentiments are pretty much exactly what most of the fan base is feeling about this. I saw some tweets and read some articles about, how Andrew Vaughn's exit affected the White Sox fan base. And I mean, Sox fans have been known to be a little bit rough on players, but whew, man, I mean, some of the stuff you read out there, like there was one by a very prominent White Sox Twitter let's just say a person, because I'm not going to mention any names, but it was something along the lines of like, was Andrew Vaughn an awesome draft pick? No. Did Andrew Vaughn ever live up to the potential of the hype? No. Did Andrew Vaughn ever develop any kind of real skills? No. Was he a defense? It was just this whole list of like things, and it was like the way Sox fans say goodbye to
Yeah.
an early first round draft pick, and uh, you know people were tough on him, and there's no reason to not be. Uh, the only thing that I can say that Andrew Vaughn maybe had go in his favor was that he could say that the White Sox never really gave him an opportunity to develop the way they handled his whole situation. Giving him basically next to no time in the minor league system, and then putting him on the taxi squad during the COVID season. And, they talked him up and they hyped him up, but there were just reports, which was also part of this tweet. Like, was Andrew Vaughn's work ethic something that, Sox fans could say was a positive about him? And the answer again was no. And it's been pretty much leaked all over the place, more in recent months than any other time, that Andrew Vaughn would like show up just to swing the bat a couple of times during camp and whatnot, and then leave and go out and hit the golf course and do whatever he wanted. And there's a bit of a thought of like the first round prima donna kind of thing going on, especially for a guy who I don't understand. You're already undersized and being picked apart by a lot of experts in baseball, and you were lucky enough to get picked extremely high in a draft, and you don't show any kind of commitment to the team that drafted you. It's an unfortunate situation, and one that he probably shouldn't have taken lightly, but he did. And to be able to get a body back, a serviceable body, was kind of lucky that Savali went to the Brewers and said, "Hey, I want out. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I'm better than this." And it makes you kind of wonder what kind of dysfunction is going on in that organization to want out of Milwaukee to come here where things are, historically bad the last couple of
Yeah.
years. And yeah, there's some minor improvements, and we've been talking about it a lot here, that there are reasons to feel like things are turning around in the organization as a whole, not just as the team. But the other part of that is I have to think that Savali probably sees an opportunity coming to the White Sox, knowing that all he has to do is be an average pitcher here in this organization, and the chances are that he will get flipped possibly to a contender and be in a situation just in a month after being traded, or a month and a half after being traded, in a situation where he's now looking at possibilities of being in the postseason and further developing his financial outlook for the rest of his career, being in the right place at the right time. So I don't really know exactly what was going on there, but obviously Milwaukee dumped a little bit of their payroll by sending him here and taking on Andrew Vaughn, and maybe they see something in Andrew Vaughn that they feel like they can fix. Oh, looks like I lost Jacob. Oh, there you are, playing with your stuff in the middle of the stream.
There was an awful glare. I had to get rid of it. It was driving me insane. I still don't think I got rid of it, but
Yeah,
we're all good.
you gotta stop playing with it while we're live, man. I'm gonna have to call you. I'm gonna have to reach out and call you something like I don't know, a specific player that was once in the White Sox organization who used to like playing with it in live places. So, anywho, Spinky.
I didn't think that's. If you had to like give me a bet sheet of like who was going to get mentioned on the podcast, why can't I think of his name?
Oh, come on, pull it out.
Plays for the
Pun
Cubs.
intended.
Don't say that. This is getting worse by the second here.
We gotta have a little bit of fun with it. So,
Of course, but I mean, like bet sheet of who's going to get mentioned tonight. He would have not been very high.
Yeah,
But
yeah. We're
here's
gonna. I'm gonna leave the name alone because he's been mentioned on this show before, and he's taken a lot of heat for something that happened years ago. So we'll
just can't beat it.
see what you did there. See what you did there. See, look, I got a little something for you. I was playing with. Oh, here we go again. I was messing around with our messing around with
It's
our
great noise
soundboard a
effect.
little bit. So yeah. Anywho, we're gonna keep it rolling here. But yeah, I mean, the thing about, by the way, Uncle Ted's in here. He says Vaughn is what, 5 million. Yeah, Vaughn was owed. Uh,
I believe it
Vaughn
was
was
six
Vaughn
mil,
was
but it was 2 years where Savali is done after this year.
Yeah, Vaughn in Vaughn's owed about, or I'm sorry, Savali's owed in the neighborhood of 9. So there was almost a $3 million difference between the two of them. Uh, so yeah, there's a little bit of a dump off of salary for that, and honestly, Savali could be a very serviceable pitcher until he either gets traded, which I'm guessing is the direction the White Sox are probably going to want to go with him, and I'm pretty sure that's what Aaron Savali had in mind for in mind for whatever the future holds for the White Sox. But the main thing is they could possibly use him as an innings eater and then try to flip him in the offseason. I just don't see that happening. I think this is more of a move to bolster the farm system down the road here and keep that the roster churn going for the White Sox. Hopefully, in time, we start to see a little bit more churn with the bullpen again, because it was during yesterday's broadcast, and I actually wanted to bring this up on this week's show, and they talked about it on yesterday's broadcast during the game, that the White Sox actually have more 2 runs or less games lost than any other team in baseball since like the beginning of May. So that
All of
tells
the
you
year,
yeah, maybe all year,
the
but
entire year, they're 4-19 and one run games. Continue.
yeah,
Sorry.
and then there's a bunch of 2 run games in there as
Yeah.
well that they were in, and the bullpen has blown. So, all in all, it kind of looks like maybe if the White Sox were actually, a little bit more on track. We've talked about how they're fun. They're more fun to watch than they have been a long time, and they're actually fun bad. This could be a team that in a year with the right couple of bullpen pieces could add another 12, 15 wins, maybe
Yeah.
more to that win total. And now we're talking about a team that's looking like 500 without really messing around too much with the current roster. So, anywho, figured I would, just kind of inject a little bit of hope into
Yeah.
what's been going on lately with the White Sox. So, pardon me. I'm fighting a little bit of a minor summer cold here. So if I get the hoarseness and the sniffles, just bear with me, folks. But
Good.
you know, um, as far as trades go, I give that one a B plus, maybe even
Yes.
an A, just because of the value from our side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What we gave away to get, and I'll really kind of grade that trade. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll grade this trade after even more closely after where we see Savali ends up and what the return on that trade is, because it's all going to go kind of hand in hand. What did we get for Andrew Vaughn at the end of the day when Aaron Savali is traded away? So
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest trade of the week, right? Like, there's no other major trades that happened. Andrew Vaughn, Ferran Savali, definitely the biggest trade of the week.
yeah, What's up, B Minor? He checks in. He's nothing new as far as the bullpen is concerned. Nothing new, considering how many Kopech blew last year, and yeah, now he's sitting down at the moment. So, I don't know. That's maybe another trade that I wasn't exactly super fond of the return for, but When we go back and look at it now, looks like the Sox might have made some pretty good decisions on that one as well. But neither here nor there on that. So again, that's all a matter of, I think, further down the road we'll be able to grade it a little bit better as well.
Yeah, for 100%.
So let's talk about some of the roster churn, as we were talking about some things that have moved around. I know there's one guy in particular that you and I have talked about, and we'll get to him in a few minutes. But my boy, Lenin Sosa, back in the lineup yesterday, or at least
Yeah.
back with the team. And then today, when the lineup cards came out before the game was, eventually canceled, nowhere to be found. What's up with that, man? You got any thoughts?
I mean, did you see the play at first? The issue that Lenine Sosa is going to have is the infield's already crowded. We have to play Vinny Capra, and so with him in that, he has to be the starting shortstop because he started for the last 5 games. Um, because of that, it kind of forces guys to play new positions because we have to play Vinny Capra there. We have to get a guy like Lenin Sosa playing first or Miguel Vargas playing first, because we can't just be able to attach. Can't lose the 310 or whatever OPS that Vinny Capra's bringing to the lineup. But no, I mean they're going to have this issue a lot going forward of guys who play the middle infield that just there's too many of them. Obviously, Colston's going to come up. Brooks Baldwin's been tearing it up. We'll get into him later. Um, so there's guys who are going to come up and already joined what is a crowded middle infield at this moment. Um, Missed the opportunity to talk about Josh Rojas because of how bad Vinny Capra is. Anyway, there'll be times. But I think when you go forward, you're going to have this issue of playing guys at first base. And some guys look really good out of position, like Miguel Vargas, who's still top 10 in all of the MLB and out above average at first. And he's played like 10 games or something. And then you have Lenin Sosa, who's not quite great at first base. Not a great defender anyways, but then you move him out of position and he's not great. I still think they need to figure out a way to get him into the lineup. Obviously, it's going to become harder to do as the season goes forward and more guys get called up. But I don't know. I think he's a legitimately 20 home run guy. If you play him every single day with what he brings, I think he can be an above average hitter. And you just don't find too many of those, especially at the second base position. So, yeah, it's nice to see him come back. I mean, he had a really good thing going before he got hurt. See if he can get back into it.
Yeah, I know I've been kind of, harping on Sosa being my guy for a long time just because, I followed him since the day he's entered the system. My big thing with him right now, and it's not typically like him, excuse me, is, yeah, he's hitting about 275-ish, right? And his OPS, or I'm sorry, his on base is still under 300. And he's catching a lot of flack for that. He's not walking. He's not taking enough pitches. But here's the thing. It's not something that has been super typical of him throughout his career. His on-base percentage, although not awesome, has been better in the past. I believe it's probably something that, he's just trying to stay with this lineup as long as he can. He's trying to put wood on the ball and keep the base paths moving. Sometimes taking a walk is the way to do that. But right now, I feel like he has proven that he could be an MLB everyday player at this point in his career. Whether it's with the White Sox or somebody else, it doesn't really matter. I think that even if he's a guy who's like your fourth or fifth infielder coming off the bench, somewhere he can stay with an MLB roster for a long time. I don't believe he's going to be one of these guys that's a White Sox and done type player where he gets 2 years and then the White Sox find their future infield and put it all together here in the next couple of years and say goodbye to Lenine Sosa, and Lenine Sosa is, off the face of the map as far as baseball is concerned. So I would like to see him walk a little bit more. I do believe that he has the power. Could you imagine a second baseman if he could clean up his defense? Could you imagine having a second baseman in Chicago that hits 15 to 20 home runs every year and bats, in the 270s? We haven't seen that in a long time. Tadahito Oguchi, I'm thinking. And Oguchi wasn't some 20 home run hitter. Ray Durham had a little bit of pop here and there, but I would love to see a second baseman in a White Sox uniform that could do that kind of thing and keep the base pass moving and even show off a little bit of speed every now and again. So I don't know, but he's back, and I hope that the rest of this. I don't know if maybe he gets traded. I don't know, but I hope that his rest of his time with the Sox is one that continues to move forward. He has been one of their hottest hitters, but that's kind of a testament to how bad this team really has been offensively, right? When you're one of your
Yeah.
best hitters is hitting 275 and only has a 290 something on base percentage. So, did you freeze up on me? Are you still here? Uh oh. Uh oh. Did we lose Jacob again? You there?
Yeah. Sorry, my Wi-Fi was not great, so we switched to the hotspot. We should be good now. Sorry.
You are.
I'm falling
You're
apart
forced.
today.
You're forcing me. You're forcing my hand. Gonna have to go with a
Is that
heater. Uh oh.
your last straw?
You're breaking up here, buddy. Is the Wi-Fi going in and out?
I'm popping in. I don't know. Not really sure. We're not really hanging in there, but
Man, do we need to start taking up donations to get you boosted up to
I
the
have
next
good
level?
internet. I pay for fiber. I pay for the good internet. I'm proud. I'm telling you. Apparently not good
Is
enough.
it your equipment? Like seriously,
I'd
do
hope
do
not. I'm working
do we
on a
need
$1,000 Mac here. I mean,
do we need to start a GoFundMe for Jacob Thome to get it
maybe I have
together?
like 40 tabs open on my Google Chrome. That's probably it. If I had to take a wild guess at something, that
Seriously, right now, bro? I'm
yeah,
trying to
I
do
was
a
doing
show here, man.
research. I was doing
Research,
research.
research.
Gotta
Man,
come prepared.
the the chat's going nuts over here, bro. While you're breaking up. So yeah, Wolf Larson, thanks for checking in, buddy. Comments would we get a doubleheader tomorrow, and I'm all for it. I'll be watching as much baseball as I possibly can tomorrow because I have an evening where I probably will have a cocktail or three tonight. So I'm gonna enjoy taking a day and chilling and watching some day baseball at home in the comforts of my own living room. 65-inch TV. Too much what? Listen, I'm not even gonna justify by putting that on the screen, Uncle Ted. We don't talk about the prawn around here. So, all right, I'm gonna go back just a little bit because I did
This
see
is
a
taking a
couple.
turn.
Yeah, it really has. So, B minor throws it out there. I have this. I had to go back and highlight this because I saw it pop up in the chat right when you were starting to blink out on us there a little bit. But he says Sosa will have a Marcus Semien career once he gets traded. Wowzers. That's a heck of a prediction. And Marcus Semien, let's be honest. When he was with the White Sox, I don't know if I would say he was the same player. Marcus Semien's defense has been pretty solid most of his career, but the bat really, really took off once he left the White Sox organization. And the guy's been pretty phenomenal since leaving. What do you think about that? You think Sosa has those kind of aspirations and or capabilities?
I think he's got 20 home run power. I don't know if he's got 40 home run power. I mean, you understand it. Like Marcus Semien was a top shortstop and is still a top tier shortstop in the MLB here for 10 years. I don't think he's going to I don't think Lenine Sosa has that type of upside. I'm thinking more of like, all right, he's above replacement level. He's got a positive WAR. He's playing some decent ball. Also, to add to Simeon, I mean, the defense of Simeon is better than Lenine Sosa. Um, Yeah, I mean, I get the pop, but I mean, I just I don't think there's a way that he's putting up a 45 home run season. Lenny Sosa, that is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, Semion's career really did take off, but you know, Sosa was probably more of a talked about uh, prospect when he was coming up. But again, Sosa was in the system when he was like 16 or 17 years old, and people knew he was going to grow, and he had these bat to ball skills, and his defense was actually not bad back in the day. I wonder kind of where that's gone off the rails a little bit, but you know, Sammy on the other hand was, I don't know if he was ever really thought to be some big power guy. So where that came from, I don't really know. But he's doing it, and I just don't see Sosa doing the same. But yeah, never know, man. I would love to see it happen. I mean, the kid's, like I said, been one of my favorites for a long time, and I've been pulling for him ever since. So, man, Uncle Ted's got a thing for Bryce Matthews. I'm just going to throw it out there because he just
Uncle Ted
he's been,
is a thing for a lot of prospects.
he does
I
well.
saw Owen Cassidy. There's a couple of names up there.
And I'm not mad. I'm not mad about it at all. I mean, we are FutureSox, and we do like to talk prospects around here, but this is the MLB centric portion of FutureSox. This is where we follow the careers of prospects into their major league careers. So, but yeah, I'm all about hopefully bringing in somebody. Man, I mean, the Sox could really use a bat coming up onto the scene. Can they not? Can we get somebody? Can Colson Montgomery put it together and bring that bat that he had for so
It's
many
starting to
years as a
come along.
prospect? He is starting to come along. He's hit a couple of dingers here recently. He's getting on base a little bit more, but I don't know. I need to see more, especially in Charlotte. We talked about Andrew Vaughn a little bit ago hitting a grand slam recently. Uh, it's Charlotte. It's like we've said it many times before. It's like hitting golf balls with an aluminum bat over there. If you're hitting 30 there, you might hit 10 in the majors. Just saying. Anything?
Good question. Um, I'm not going to respond. Anyway, what position is Colson Montgomery playing in 3 years? Designated hitter.
You know what? I was going to say if the White Sox still haven't found a first baseman, I mean, they seem to be just rotating anybody through there
Left
these days.
field? Like, I
You
don't.
brought up the name that I didn't want to bring up right away, but you did because I said we talk about him, but you mentioned his name like 3 or 4 times. Who's that guy from the Brewers that we claimed off waivers? Come on, you said the name like 3 or 4 times when we were talking about finding positions for Sosa. Guys,
Oh,
who's got
Vinny
like a.
Capra.
There you
Hold on.
go.
Hold on. To think about that, we have way too many former Brewers players. I had 4 answers I could have went with. It's 5 if you include Shane Smith.
Shane
It's
Smith.
6. I forgot about Tyler Alexander. 6 former Brewers.
Yeah, it's like
A
the
lot of
Brewers
former
are this
Brewers.
year's KC Royals. The
Yeah.
last couple of years it was Royals dump offs. Now it's Brewers dump offs. But you know what? Can't be mad about Shane Smith. Although let's just talk about Shane Smith for a second, since it is fresh in our memories. Yesterday's start.
Not great.
No,
That's
no,
all I'm going to leave it at. Not great.
no. All right, we'll leave it at that. But you know what? As well as he's pitched up until this point in this season, he's allowed to have a clunker. He's allowed to give up 5 runs in the first 2 innings.
That's my thought about it. I mean, he's a rookie. I mean, you got to understand that this is a guy who came over in the Rule 5 draft. And I think his ERA is a little lower than I think it potentially, will be going forward. Obviously, I think his ERA is still insane. It's 2.85. So I mean, he's a rookie. He's going to go through the ups and downs of the MLB, and we'll see what happens. But um, yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be kind of some of these blowups where it's the middle of the season. You're playing a good team, not a good team, but you're playing a team who Can clearly get hot at the right moment. They have a lot of young talent, and yeah, they shut it off there.
Yeah, it is what it is. The Cardinals have been kind of a perplexing team up to this point in the season, where they have had their struggles. Like they can hit, right, and they can score some runs, but they've had their struggles pitching. They're kind of middling right now where they're at in their division. If they want to have any chance of making the postseason, they've got to find their pitching. But man, yesterday, I mean, Liberatore was absolutely mowing down Sox hitters. I think it was like the middle of the sixth, and he was only at 70 something pitches, or maybe even the seventh. I don't even know. And White Sox hitters were just 1,000% perplexed by what he was throwing up there. It was like they couldn't guess right on anything. I don't know if it was he was just due, because obviously this is a guy, another early round draft pick or early first round draft pick that a lot of Sox fans would have hoping we could have had him, but it didn't work out that way. But Shane Smith coming out there and doing what he's been doing all season, he just didn't look like he had his best stuff yesterday, and he was getting touched up a little bit. So it is what it is. We'll leave it at that. We'll move on. We've been talking a little bit about first base, and we've been talking a little bit about Vinny Capra, and Vinny Capra had himself a game at first base the other day, even though he's been playing shortstop most of the time, but he did have a game at first base. Why, I have no idea, or at least part of a game. I don't remember if he came in as a replacement later on, but what is the deal with this guy, dude? Like, you asked the question in a text between you and I and our very own Ian Eskridge. What does he have on Chris Getz? Like, I get that we picked him up on a waiver pickup from the Brewers, but like, why does this guy continue to get playing time? What is it we're expecting to get out of him? Do you have
I
any
mean, like,
inkling of thoughts on this? Why does he get so many starts?
the thought is right, and he's another like Jacob Amaya. I almost forgot his name. How could I? Of like, oh, no ball, or sorry, no hitting skills, but good defensive guy. But like at a certain point, like I don't care about the defense. I'll watch a guy make 300 errors. I don't want to see a dude with a 305. I said 310. I was low. Not 305. 305 OPS. OPS. And I mean, sure, I'm sure the defensive numbers look great, but like, what are we doing here? Like, this is a guy who very clearly does not belong in the MLB at this point. Um, just absolutely awful. You send down Brooks Baldwin, and I put out a tweet and I said I'm lower on Brooks Baldwin than the majority of the White Sox fan base, and even I was like, why? There's no point of seeing Vinny Capra. I don't even think he's young. Um, no, he's 28 years old. What are we doing here? Um, and he's a zero. Oh, he's not even an elite defender. I get it. I don't hate when they signed him. I was like, all right, that's fine. It's whatever. He'll be here for a week and then he'll be gone. But he has been absolutely horrible at this whole game of baseball thing that he's getting paid to do, and it's been a rough watch. So, I would assume he's the send down for either of them, Colson when he gets brought up, or Brooks Baldwin. But there's just got to be better options. I am tired of watching either Vinny Capra or Jacob Amaya play this game of baseball. And I want to bring that up because I can see it now. He's going to get sent down. Capra is going to get sent down. It's going to be Jacob Amaya right back up. But
Oh,
yeah, not
come
fun.
on.
I'm just
No,
saying.
and you bring up Brooks Baldwin, and I just want to touch on this a little bit. Brooks Baldwin had at least a minor league career that said, you know what, this guy's got an opportunity to possibly be a guy at the MLB level, right? And I think it's just a matter of development with Brooks Baldwin. I also think it's, Sox doing Soxy things by playing him out of position and kind of moving him around all over the field and not really giving him an opportunity to get comfortable. And I think sending him down and optioning him was probably the best move they could have made with him in recent days because let's be real, I believe he needs, like most prospects and most young players need, I believe he needs a little bit of continuity in his game to get comfortable. He's still a young guy. Jake, you there? I think I lost Jacob again. Oh, he's here. So yeah, I believe that it's just a matter of he needs to get consistent playing time, and he needs to get it at a consistent position and allow himself to continue to develop and be comfortable with the game. These guys they get to play the child's game and make a lot of money doing it. And when you are thrown into a high pressure situation, whether or not the Sox are expected to win, are looking to not be the team they were last year. They have to show some improvement. There is some pressure there. And then you're also talking about your first taste and opportunity to come up and be somebody at the MLB level. You're probably putting some pressure on yourself too because you want to stick, right? You want to show out and make sure that you let the world know you can play this game. So I just think that it's probably a disservice to leave him up on the south side and to continue to move them all around the field, especially like you say, when we've got a bevy of middle infielders and the just absolute windmill of outfielders that's happening right now due to injuries and other reasons where guys are up and down all over the place. And Benintendi, he's down with an injury, and Talkman's down with an injury, and now we're talking about Luis Robert being traded soon. Like, is that really doing any kind of favors for Brooks Baldwin going out and trying to learn how to play left field at the MLB level in the
Yeah.
middle of the season, that you're trying to, at least establish yourself as an MLB player? I don't really think that's fair to Brooks. And I hope it's something that, we see less and less of from this White Sox organization as we see more improvements to the roster and start making our way out of the doldrums of, baseball hell, basically. So,
Yeah. Chat is
Wolf,
lighting up. There's some good questions
yes,
in chat if you want to go.
I want to hit this most recent question right now because Wolf says, "Are you guys done with Rojas?" I am. How you feel?
If there weren't 13
Well, you
other
break
middle infielders that I disliked more than Josh Rojas, I think it'd be a big. Am I breaking up?
a little
This
bit.
has been a absolute nightmare on the electronical part of this on my part. Um, I
Well,
don't
you're
know what to
back
do at this
for
point,
now.
but just hope you can hear me. All right, cool.
Yeah, you're back for now.
Anyway, there's about 13 other middle infielders that I hate more than Josh Rojas right now. Um, so I am done with him, but I just don't know. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I think he's going to be here for a while. I think he's owed a lot of money, not a lot of money, but for the White Sox, a lot of money. He'll stay the year. He's probably not going to get DFA'd. Um, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, I could go for a few less Josh Rojas at bats in my lifetime.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of people in this chat that are going to disagree with me. I've been asked in the past to not bring him up or talk about him, but I'm going to. I would much rather see Brian Ramos than Josh Rojas up with this ball club. And I know Ramos has had his struggles, but the second half of last season, he showed us some things. He's another one. He's always shown in his minor league career that yeah, it takes him a little bit of time to get going, but once he gets consistent playing time and he finds his way, he starts to do things that are impressive. Oh, look at that. Thanks for the super chat.
I
Wolf,
might need it at this point.
he is donating $2 to the Jacob Thome AV fund. And I think we might have to work on that. I don't know what it is. If we're gonna have to, I don't know if you have to like defrag your computer, old school style defrag, or get
I
it.
cleared
God,
up space today too, by the way.
oh, see, you broke it. You broke your computer, is what you did. You tried to get in, get all fancy and
I'm
whatnot.
no, I was deleting like old Adobe products and We're horrible. I only have one window open, I think. I don't know.
Well,
It's a nightmare. This isn't why we're here.
but yeah, either way, getting back to what I was saying, and again, thank you for the super chat, Wolf. We appreciate it. We appreciate any and all donations to us sitting here with headsets on, growing hemorrhoids, and myself smoking cigarettes and ripping heaters and whatnot while we talk White Sox baseball. I can do a lot of things at once. You drink coffee, talk baseball, rip heaters, and grow hemorrhoids all at the same time, man. It's fantastic.
I don't think you can drink coffee and play or and talk White Sox at the same time. I would bet a
It would
lot
be
of
a
money
neat
you can't
trick.
do those two things.
So yeah,
I
but
feel like that would
any and
go
all
everywhere
donations are
anyway.
appreciated. And as far as what we were talking about, like I want to hear your opinion. Like Josh Rojas, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I don't care. You know, you can talk about where he came from, what he did, what it means to the White Sox. I'd rather see Brian Ramos, a homegrown kid who has done some things in the organization, and yes, not without his faults, but when he got consistent playing time, looked pretty okay, and he's starting to come around again.
He's playing well, playing
I
good
would like to
baseball.
see. I would just give him another shot. Why are we messing around with guys we know aren't going to be part of the future? We
Yeah,
100% know these guys aren't going to be a part of the future. We 100% know Vinny Capra is not a guy. We 100%. I'm pretty much sure 100% that Josh Rojas is not a guy. You know. Then there's that other name, the man who will be who remained nameless, the J.A. name that you pulled out earlier. Jacob shares his name with you, a first name with you, that I really don't want to see come back to the Southside MLB club like ever again. So what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Let's give some guys that maybe have an opportunity, at least a shot, even if they're not everyday guys, if they're bench players. Let's bring them up. Let's do something. Let's keep that roster churn going.
yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Thanks, Wolf. He says he'd love to see Ramos too. Somebody agrees with me. So, anywho, Tim Elko, another White Sox prospect we were hoping to see more of. He spent more time riding the pine in his days up here, his time up with the White Sox. Also, option down recently. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, listen, I was day one of the show. I said I was a Tim Elko hater. It's coming to fruition. I'm looking like a smart human being. Also, by the way, said I was a huge Chris Getz fan on that first show. Now everybody's jumping aboard the Chris Getz fan or train. I was the conductor of said train. And I would like that to be acknowledged. Anyway, back to my Tim Elko hate. Listen, this isn't hate about the guy. I genuinely, I say this a lot with prospects and guys I don't like. We just talk about like Josh Rojas, other guys, prospects coming up that I just don't see the potential in. Obviously, I would love to be proven wrong. Um, Unfortunately, with Tim Elko, I have been 100% right that the strikeout rate is just insane. It's not even the strikeout rate; is the lack of being able to take pitches, get advanced at bats. It's been a rough watch. A lot of strikeouts. He kind of feels like a three outcome hitter. I feel like I'm watching really bad Adam Dunn. I don't remember what year, but we all know the Adam Dunn year I'm talking about. Really bad. That's kind of what it feels like he is at this point. And the issue that a lot of these kind of quad A bats, like Pete Crow Armstrong, shout out P Knowles,
PCA is a quad A bat, huh? Guys looking
PC
like the
quad A.
yeah, looking like
Um,
looking like the MVP right now. But you know, it's an
no,
NL MVP. He's in the conversation at least.
anyway,
I said he was a bust
but
too, by the way. I did.
the issue with that is, these guys like Tim Elko's biggest issue right now is he needs to adjust at major league pitching, and it's hard to do that when you're not playing in the majors. So we'll see what comes up with it. I don't know if he'll be up. I mean, I would assume he's kind of on that short list of guys to be called up here if there's an injury or whatever, say for example, Vinny Capra gets injured, you bring up a guy like Tim Elko um, to replace him. But
Vinny
yeah, I don't know.
Capra.
I mean, it's just it's tough. I mean, by the way, not wishing an injury on Vinny Capra at all. I think that's kind of how that came across. That is, I do not like wishing injuries around people.
No.
People are human beings. That's number one. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, first and
I
foremost, we're not jerk faces around here. Total jerk faces. Like we do have some sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? Compassion, I guess, for these guys.
integrity.
I don't know about
Oh
integrity. I mean, we're
yeah,
here. We
we
show
don't
up
have
when we
that.
can.
I thought we were
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we try to have integrity, but it is what it is. But yeah, we definitely don't wish injury on anybody. We try to get everybody's names right. We try to, we try to be fair in our assessment of guys, and we'll admit when we're wrong. I'll wear it. I'll take that egg in the face, Miguel Vargas. Thanks for proving me wrong. Becoming a serviceable MLB player. Appreciate that. Love to see it, man. But anywho, Vinny Capra. What? This is it's the Vinny Capra show, dude.
it is.
I can't let it go. Like, what is this? What are we doing? What are we doing? And when I say we, I mean the White Sox. Yes, I'm one of those people. We, because I bleed and sweat and cry with this team. Put my heart and soul into it. I'm gonna need an iron lung at some point because of this team. Like, come on, yeah, we. If you're one of those people that's gonna tell me we and that's wrong, you can GFY, and that's all I gotta say
So
about that. So anyway,
I have a quick story about this. Shout out to Illinois Media School where I went to school to learn this whole thing. Shout out Dustin Rhodes, the morning producer for Mully and Haw. And he was like, if you say we on this radio station, I will, it will drive me insane. And so I just got programmed into never saying we. And so I try not to do it. And every time I do it, I think of him. Shout out Dustin Rhodes.
well, all right, Dustin, Dusty Rhodes. It's easy top.
Dustin, not
I
Dusty.
know, I know. Anywho,
Oh,
yeah, it is what it is. I say we. I don't really care. And
it
I'm
doesn't
not I'm not on some radio show. I'm just some dude sitting in his
clearly.
family room. All right, so shots fired.
No,
So
I'm saying it. This as a whole, we would have been kicked off the air 45 minutes
whatever,
ago.
whatever. You know what? I don't know if I want to be on the. I shouldn't say this out loud. Nothing against the guy personally. I'm just not a fan of him. But David Haw, I don't know. If I got kicked off his show, it wouldn't be any skin off my teeth. So, anyhow,
Great guy.
Molly, I'm okay. Yeah, I mean, he seems like a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. I just don't agree with a lot of his opinions. But then again, a lot of people don't agree with mine, so I get it. We're out here offering up our opinions. We're offering up our best expert opinions. I say that with a really cheesy grin on my face if you're not watching the show. But anywho, let's move on. We have a few minutes left, and I'm glad that Baseball Toss is in the chat right now because it gives me the perfect segue. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this comment, and I'm going to read it to those listeners that aren't watching on the YouTubes or anywhere else you can find our live stream. But, sorry, hit the wrong one there. Baseball Toss brings up Ishbia Save Us. It says Save Us, but we get it. That actually brings me out to my next topic because it's probably something we could have talked about a little bit last week when we heard the news of Justin Ishbia being granted the opportunity to become majority owner of the White Sox as early as 2029 and as late as 2034, I believe was the range that was given. We all, as White Sox fans, kind of greeted this with huge open arms because we're just not satisfied with the Reinsdorf era of baseball here in Chicago. Obviously, only a handful of playoff appearances, one season where we actually had playoff series one, which was 2005, the only successful uh, playoff season that you can look back on in Jerry's tenure since 1980 or 81, whatever it was. Um, but the thing is now with that news also came right around in the very close proximity of time the news that the Chicago Fire have been approved and are going to move forward with building a stadium, an MLS stadium on the 78. That 62-acre piece of land along the South Branch of the Chicago River that the White Sox have been linked to for over a year now. And I wanted to hit on this a little bit. So, uh, reason being is I feel like this Fire deal to get this stadium, and I don't know if you've seen the renderings at all. If you haven't, and if you're listening to the show, I would like to, at least promote you to go out and take a look at these renderings. They're not as awesome as some of the White Sox renderings were, the possibilities of what was going to happen with the White Sox putting a stadium there, but I think it opens up some opportunities for us, being that the Fire of now are looking at basically building a soccer cathedral as far as the MLS goes. One of maybe, if not the best, one of the best, and uh, kind of upcoming uh, modern MLS stadiums right there on the 60 on the I'm sorry, on the 78. Could you imagine what this does for Ishbia taking over and the rumors that he will invest in the club between now and the time he takes over as the majority owner of the White Sox? Can you imagine what this does for the possibility of the Sox and the Fire both being at the 78? Let's talk about this. Do you have any thoughts on this, Jacob?
I have plenty of thoughts. For one, the renderings look awesome. I am a person who is extremely against going to the 78. I think it makes zero sense. Um, and I'll get into that in a second. But I do think there's enough room. If you see the renderings, it looks like there's plenty of space to fit both of these.
62 acres of land.
Yeah, that's a lot of. There's a lot of space there. Um, the only issue I have with it, and this is why I'll get into this, is there's no parking. I mean, we have talked. That has been the issue at Soldier Field for literally ever. Is that there is zero parking there. You're moving from Bridgeport to you are now in the loop, um, South Loop, if you want to call it that. Anyway, you're still all right there. There's no parking there. I mean, it is horrible. I just, for a team that puts like South Side across the jerseys, I just don't understand moving out of Bridgeport. In my opinion, if you're going to do a new stadium, I would do it the exact same way you did it the first time. Build it directly over Comiskey Park. That's where I would put a new stadium. Leave it in Bridgeport. This is coming from someone who lived or used to live in the Joliet area, so it's extremely convenient for me to get there. I mean, you just hop right on 55 and it's right there. But um, I don't know. I mean, you're seeing the issues that like the Bears are having, why they're moving out of Soldier Field. Yes, I understand that they don't own the stadium, but like the biggest issue for the consumer is the parking. You have to park forever away. It's a hassle to get there. The Sox don't have that issue. They have a ton of parking. You're in Bridgeport. I don't know. I would just so much rather the Sox stay in the location they're at now. I understand that you want a new stadium. You know, there's a lot of people that really do enjoy guaranteed rate field. I'm so on it. It's an all right ballpark. The best part of the ballpark is the food. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm fat, but hey, um,
Me too.
yeah, exactly. The food is great. Anyway, you know, I've been to Busch Stadium in St. Louis. It's an hour and a half for me. It's a totally different experience. It feels just completely different. Um, so I get it. They want a new ballpark. I think that's completely reasonable, but I don't understand the reason to move out of that area. And I understand that people are bringing up, you know, Ubers and train. Yeah, I get that, but I don't have to do that right now. Like there's a lot of other ways. And the train is awful, by the way. Here's another, that's another gripe for another time. The train that is goes, they have a train that perfectly goes. It's on the uh, Rock Island line. It's perfect. It leaves from Joliet, New Lenox. The issue is they don't change their schedule. So if you either have to you I've taken the train before. You either have to choose by leaving early from the game. Both times I've left early, missed two walk-offs, both against the Rays. Really odd. Um anyway, so there's that. I don't understand why they just don't put a train that leaves in 30 minutes after the game ends. That is my whole point, and I understand, like, it's in a good location. I believe it's, like, steps away from the LaSalle Street Station, which is, again, the same train line, but, that is my gripe about the 78 as a whole. I think it's a bad idea. Stay in Bridgeport.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit on this one really quickly because I am very familiar with that area and that area of the river. I've said it on previous shows. I think mostly with Ian last year when the news came out, but a friend of mine owns a boat that is docked right along the river, right, literally right on the river there. Literally steps north of the 78. Um, and on the I've been hearing some whispers. There is some undeveloped land just across the other side of the river from there that folks are talking about could potentially be parking. And that this development of the 78 might actually move forward in the development of some of the land on the other side of the river there as well. There's some industrial stuff there, and there's just some undeveloped area there. And I think the potential for not only parking but more of a, maybe I don't want to say touristy, but probably it would generate a lot of tourists if you've got two major sports clubs on one side of the river and about a half a mile or so of riverfront that could be developed into, restaurants, very similar to what is going on with the Riverwalk in the main branch of the Chicago River and the expansion of that over the last 10 years or so here. The beautification project all up and down there, I believe is something that's probably in the works when we talk about things happening at the 78. So if you could potentially put parking right across the river from there, and it's within walking distance of all of that stuff, just over the bridge. There's even been talks of maybe a pedestrian bridge going up if all this happens to shorten the distance. Shuttles, things of that nature. I believe it could have a major impact on the south side of Chicago. And I get your kind of hangups as far as like transportation goes, but I would believe that if we're going to put, possible, they're talking about putting some of the university buildings there, and now you've got the fire going in there, which by the way is a privately funded
Yeah.
like $650 million stadium. It's going to be privately funded, so they're not really asking for a whole lot from the city. But the city also has the responsibility. There's already money kind of pulled away from all of the wards surrounding that area for infrastructure. So you're going to see widening of streets. Clark Street will probably be widened out. There'll be, possible more bus routes, more accessibility by train. I think they would probably find ways to alleviate some of the traffic in and out of the area. I just think that there's a chance that this all could work out for the better. And now that you have the fire involved, who are not asking the city for any publicly funded money, they could help with any overages on infrastructure, which actually could, in my opinion, sway the White Sox to become more involved in the 78 and maybe pony up a little bit more money with all of these other projects that are also planned for the 78. I think it could work. I get that a lot of folks don't want to move out of Bridgeport. The history that's there, the White Sox have been there since their inception in baseball, going back to 1900, 1901. The idea of leaving Bridgeport leaves a little, it leaves some sourness for some people. There are a lot of folks that live in Bridgeport now that have either been there their whole lives or have stayed there, they come back or move there with the thought that they can walk to White Sox games and be right in that area of history. I get that, but you're still on the south side, and I just imagine having a stadium with the backdrop of downtown's high rises in the background and the skyscrapers and just what that could look like. But I don't really know how that's all going to work out. I wonder if Justin Ishbia is going to want to dump that kind of money out there, because obviously the state has made it pretty clear that they don't want to add anything to it. Mr. Oberweiss doesn't want to do anything with it. JB Pritzker. The city of Chicago has been crying broke for years and years and years. So I don't know if that's going to, have any impact on that. But the Ishbias seem like they're pretty adept at spending some money. So I don't know what that means, but I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit today and get your thoughts. And I see the chat's been going crazy with it. So I haven't had an opportunity to kind of highlight any of these.
Also,
But
add to that, I mean,
you're breaking up again.
oh,
There you go. You're back.
now. I was going to say, to add to that, I mean, Ishbia has a history in real estate, I believe, as well. I could be wrong, but so I mean, I think there's something else there in terms of, you have a guy who's in the real estate industry and actively in the real estate industry.
Well, most hedge funds do have some property to back their financials.
Right, exactly. So don't let it out there.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we're a little over an hour in here. I think we're going to wrap it up with that. But you know what? I didn't really prepare any hot takes or heaters this week. Do you have anything in that for us? Let's ask the chat as well.
I don't. I can make up something, but
yeah, you know what? It's been a slow news week. I don't want to keep running over the same guys. Not really much has changed. Let's go with a cold take this week. Just because it's been that show, it's been his show, it's been the Vinny Capra show. I'm just going to throw it out there. The opposite of a heater, Vinny Capra. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm glad that somebody felt like they saw some potential in you when you were released by the Brewers. But I'm not happy that it was the White Sox and your performance since then. I hope that if you continue to get playing time, you prove us wrong and get on base once in a while. But
you had a good game yesterday.
Cold. Anywho,
he even pitched.
Yeah, and he got smoked. I mean, now here's the thing, though. He did have a 1-2-3 inning the first time he pitched a couple weeks. It was about 2 weeks ago ish when he came up with when the White Sox first brought him over. So there's that. But last night, not so much. What you got, Jake?
What do I got for hot takes and heaters? Heater. Who's on a heater? Not me.
I could smoke a heater.
I'll go on a cooler as well. Chase my drop.
Yeah.
His splits home and away are insane.
The Sox splits home and away are insane.
And that
on the road,
everybody's saying is because, well, yeah, but a lot of people are saying that it's because of the tracking machine, which I think is really neat. Sucks they can't bring it on the road.
Yeah, it does. It does suck. But yeah, they suck on the road, dude. They've been pretty awful. So yeah, it is what it is. I guess we'll wrap it up there. I'm glad you brought up Chase Mydroth, though, really quickly. Chase Mydroth on the podcast with AJ did say that they all have Pope T-shirts in their lockers, so still representing the Pope on the south side.
Did you see the Pope was chanting White Sox today?
I did not see this. No.
He was driving around in the Pope mobile. He was in Italy. He was driving around on the back of the Pope Mobile and started chanting White Sox with the crowd.
This thing's catching on. It's it, I gotta, you can't fault them. Maybe the White Sox need a little Jesus in their locker room and in their I don't know, just in their presence in general. We need a little Jesus on the South Side, man. So, all right, we'll wrap it up with that. We need some Jesus on our show here, and we're getting our fill of it with the Pope being a White Sox fan. So, thanks for checking in, everybody. As always, special shout out to our chatters. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the super chats. We'll make sure that we donate that super chat to Jacob's audio visual fund, and we'll get them straightened out for next week. Hopefully, we won't have so many breakups. I'm gonna blame it on the weather. It's been shit today, pretty much all around Illinois. So, but yeah, here we are at the end of another broadcast. This has been Hot Takes and Heaters. My name is Danny Miller. You can find me on X at Danny Miller FS. That guy is Jacob Thome. You can find him on X at jthome21. Again, like I said, we appreciate your super chats. Anytime you see us or any of our Future Sox podcasts live, Future Sox super chats are open during those times. If you like our written content, you can find that at futuresox.net. And if you really like to find the stuff that we have behind the paywall, our exclusives, there's also a Patreon fund that you can donate to get that stuff. We have brought on a ton of new writers this year. And I think you guys, if you haven't checked them out, should. We've got a lot of draft profiles coming out right now. Look into those. You can catch Ian and James on the Future Sox podcast, as well as the Future Sox Roundup with Jeff and Elijah, and special appearances with Not Cease as well. That's pretty much it. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. We'll see you
You're
next
awesome.
week. Until then, go White Sox.